Coupes, where the hell have they gone? And for the avoidance of doubt, this is not a coupe, no matter what any car manufacturer tells you. Rather, something that looks like this. Over the past decade or so, they've all but disappeared, and the ones that remain oddly seem to only come from one country. Why is that? CLE, what the hell does that mean? If you follow the soup that is Mercedes-Benz nomenclature, C generally translates to the smaller rear-wheel drive architecture, and E translates to the mid-size rear-wheel drive architecture. Historically, L meant longa, meaning long, longer, bigger, however you want to put it. This Mercedes, they don't want me to tell you, is really kind of a C-Class coupe, but they've made it longa, or more longa, to fill the gap between an E-Class and a C-Class. So what they've done is they've taken the architecture of a C and they've made it over 6 inches longer. Wheelbase is about an inch longer. So the idea is you get more with less, or something along those lines. And then they've made it look a little bit more interesting. To me, it looks more like the C coupe that came before it than the E coupe that came before it. I felt the E coupe was more sensual, especially in the daylight opening. Here you can definitely see in that C pillar, this is a C, but then you look in the front and say, oh, I can see where they do with the E there. Again, we're getting back to the soup. Put aside all of that, let's get to really what makes this thing tick, and that is what propels it. Now, there's going to be 3 propulsion systems that we know about, 2 as it relates to the US today. There is a C300. That one's a 4-cylinder with a mild hybrid system. We're not going to be driving that one today. Instead, this one, which is the inline 6 with the mild hybrid, the general concept is to add instantaneous torque and improve efficiency. So this one still adds 150, in this case 151 pounds of torque from 0, but they've upped the output, at least the horsepower, now to 23. So that really is torque filled, kind of like a diesel engine. Then there's the whole purpose of this being, it's not a performance car, it's not a sports car. This is definitely a luxury car, but shockingly quick. 0 to 60, at least on the C300, that's not as good. That's 6.2 seconds. This one, 4.2 seconds. VMAX on both, nothing to write home about. 130 miles an hour. Welcome back to the California Republic and the June gloom. But no need to fret, because today we are not driving A baby buggy, and B, something that sits atop a queen-size mattress that is a very heavy battery. 4,123 pounds, or depending on express your weights and measures, 1,870 kilograms with that sport mode. That was unexpected. That is all about the integrated starter generator motor. Completely full disclosure with you guys, I was not excited for this car because we've already seen that they're bringing out the CLE 53, the AMG, that has the engine that we want, the 6-cylinder that's got the integrated starter generator motor, almost 500 horsepower. And I figure this is like the Aperitivo in advance of that car. However, it's not that there's power in this torque. There's immediacy to this powertrain, more than I would expect in like the middle model. It's different. You buy this car because you want it, not because you have to. And this all kind of works in conjunction with a 9-speed torque converter automatic. And here I will tell you, there is a big difference when you go into the sport mode. I did on the Transit in the regular mode. It's kind of lazy and it's shifting because it's trying to be a luxury car. No harm, no foul. But up here, it cleans it up. It's not to the point of what an AMG, like almost dual clutch system would be. It's to the point where it actually puts a smile on your face, even though it doesn't say AMG all over the back. So yes, this is a mild hybrid, and yes, it has an integrated starter generator motor that sits between the engine and transmission. But unlike the previous flavors of the mild hybrid system from AMG, this one has a module that sits between the engine and transmission. Now, why did they do this? To be able to have the same system, whether it's this 6-cylinder or the 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes into the C300. So it's really a cost-saving measure. Now that has an unusual, I guess, benefit. The sound is different. Not from the exhaust, but when you stand near the car sounds like a diesel engine at idle rather than a gasoline engine. And if I'm reading the tea leaves correctly, it's a combination of both the 6-cylinder engine and the 48-volt mild hybrid system. And so we come to driving dynamics. And here, we get a bit of a letdown. This is where we understand what this thing is trying to be. It's trying to be a luxury coupe, but it's not a mess. Like, remember the last Mercedes, which was an AMG we drove on this road, the CLE 35. Fun little car, but if you didn't have that thing in sport mode and really hold on for dear life, the back end was a complete mess. Like, you and I would be going this way, the back end would be going that way. Here, this is built on better stock. This is built on a rear-wheel drive platform, so it's designed to like dress up in the AMG CLE 53 and down to the CLE 300. By no stretch of the imagination am I saying this is a sports car. There is a waft to it, which absolutely reinforces it is a luxury car. But something fascinating going on. The weight management is unusually good here. Again, a prep for the CLE 53 and hopefully CLE 63. What's going on here, I liken it to my old Supra, and I've brought this up many times over the years in this show. I had an 88 Supra, and that car, wow, was it heavy for the day. And you needed to let it decide where it wants to put the weight before you move it too much, and then she's fine. Now, a big contributing factor to that is the steering. On the Transit up from the hangar, it's light, it's overboosted, it feels like a Honda. But up here, it cleans up quite a bit. I'm not saying the weight is that of a complete AMG. I'm sure we'll get there. I feel like it was just yesterday when you and I stood in this very same place and posed the question, why can't we have nice things in this country? Very long story short, because they cost too much. You see, manufacturers like this have deemed in their infinite wisdom that anything between 50,000 and 100,000 US, that could be considered even remotely forbidden fruit. That we can't have because it will be in direct competition with something else they want to sell that will have more volume. Kind of like this. Not saying this isn't nice, it is lovely, but it is a luxury coupe. Now, what does this cost? If it was the 4-cylinder, it'd be about $56,000 base price. This one, the 6-cylinder, is about $65,000 base price. Now, I can think of two direct competitors. You could probably think of the same ones that cost about the same price, have the same engine options. Yes, the BMW probably more sporty in both engine applications. And that's where we arrive at that very distinct line of demarcation between the forbidden fruit / nice things and this, something that's perfectly lovely, yet very much luxury. You see, this one is not $65,000. This one has about $12,000 in options. Outside, the paint is like $1,700. The wheels are like 1,120 inches. They come with 19s on the 6 and 18s on the 4. Then, very oddly, Mercedes chooses to nickel and dime you to death on the inside. Things like additional USB ports, $300. Vent seats, $400 on top of spending $1,100 for massaging seats. Black leather is like $1,700, which brings this to over $78,000. And that's where we get to a bit of a problem. Number one, 78 grand, that's more than buying an M3 or an M4. Yes, different car, but sort of forbidden fruit that we can have here. And then this gets to the real question of why don't they do the E-Coupe anymore? Because they feel that's under the heading of we can't have nice things because that would be more than this, less people would buy it, and this is the volume car they want to sell. Anyway, am I crazy or am I the only one thinking of putting a luxury coupe against something like an M4 coupe? Comments below. So before you and I part ways for the day, two rather important things. Number one, the interior. You're looking at this thinking, oh, it's the Mercedes Russian nesting doll syndrome, at least in design. We first saw this in W223 S Class. But something important here, you're looking at it and saying, The screen. Now, I am not a huge fan of this, and just kind of as a side note, I've confirmed with an engineer as well as some folks inside of Mercedes, they're finally listening to us. They're going to give us some knobs and some switches here to make this work and work better. But something fascinating about this application, the car you and I are driving now has a roof. It has a sunroof, but it has a roof. The car we're going to drive, I think in about a month, I think it's late July, early August, that will be the same car, but a folding roof. So you can imagine that will not work very well in a convertible, so they're going to pilfer the design from the SL, where this will pivot backwards and forwards, so you don't have the glare. And then second, you can laugh at me all you want, but I'm a major audiophile. Those of you that are longtime viewers of the show know this. But it's hard to demonstrate that, so that's why I don't really talk about audio systems in cars, because you really don't understand unless you experience it. But here I do need to make the note that, wow, it kicks. That's all I'm going to say. Mercedes will tell you, oh my God, it's like 3 or 4D and it does all these Burmester type things. That's lovely, but at the end of the day, it's an audio system that kind of fits within the personality of a personal luxury car. I've gone on and on over the years about my Aunt Christine, and she had a 79 Eldorado, which I still want one of those, and that had like one of the first like Bose audio systems, and we'd go up and down the Boogie Down Bronx on the Bronx River Parkway, and we'd kick it in her Eldorado, and this kind of brings me back to those days. Did you ever have one of those situations growing up where your mother gave you a cookie, whatever the kind of cookie it was, and you complained and said you wanted a piece of chocolate cake, and she said, don't look a gift horse in the mouth? That's kind of the scenario here. This is the cookie. We love cookies. Me personally, I love snickerdoodles. That's kind of what this is. It takes me home, I feel comfortable. I feel like it's a comfortable pair of jeans. But it's not the chocolate cake I want, or the red velvet cake that I want, or frankly the cheesecake that I want. That's coming in the form of the CLE 53, and frankly the folks at Mercedes, they haven't confirmed if they're doing a CLE 63, which gets us to the wish list. Please, oh please, oh please, CLE 63S. Both in hardtop and convertible, because the last time they did like a C63S convertible, the thing I loved about that car, it tried to kill you whenever you drove it, much like an old Lamborghini, which is why people loved it and why it's going to be a classic car. But I am just one man, and this is the point of the episode to turn around to you guys to opine in the comments below or via our social media, MotoMan TV on Word, MotoMan TV on Word, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But really, this is a two-part question that tags on to what we discussed in the whole we can't have nice things. Should they have continued with a C and an E coupe, or should they have gone a completely different direction and not done a CLE or a C and done an E coupe? Because there I've always maintained the E coupe was kind of like the modern day Cadillac Eldorado, and it was the only one out there that did it because no one else makes anything like that. That's the kind of answer I'm looking for in the comments below. So a lot to discuss. Now, if you found this discussion fascinating, perhaps you should see our GLA 35 episode. Not that the cars are similar or they're related because of the manufacturer. Rather, we had a bigger deep dive on the why can't we have nice things in this country question. You can see that episode here. Until I see you in the next episode, bis später. Now granted, over 100,000, then have at it. They come over and the dealers, man, they scalp our head.